All of the Earth's energy comes from the sun. Plants use the sun's energy to make their own food in a process called photosynthesis. We call organisms that make their own food producers. Organisms that can't make their own food get their energy by eating producers. We call these organisms consumers, such as this mouse. An organism that eats a producer is called a primary consumer. An organism that eats a primary consumer is a secondary consumer. Let's review. Plants, such as this grass, are producers. They make their own food. This mouse is a primary consumer because it gets its energy from a producer. The snake is a secondary consumer because it gets its energy from a primary consumer. Energy flows from producer to primary consumer to secondary consumer. We've got our arrows, but what if there's another animal? An owl. What do we call it? A tertiary consumer. The sun puts out a lot of energy. Do you think that plants get all of the energy that is released from the sun? No, they don't. Of all of the sun's energy, plants only get to use about 10%. 10% is important for all the other stages in our food chain too. Primary consumers, the mice, only get 10% of the plant's energy. And the snakes, the secondary consumers, only get about 10% of the mice's energy. How much of the sun's original energy did the mice get? 10% of 10% is 1%. Our owl only gets 10% of the snake's energy. The 10% rule goes all the way up this energy pyramid. And look at how much energy they get relative to the original energy from the sun. Let's look at our labels. We've got our producers, our primary consumers, our secondary consumers, and our tertiary consumer. We call these names trophic levels, and it corresponds to their place on the energy pyramid.